Thanks for coming out and watching the oxymoronic Reddit Professional Show, where I showcase the best and worst of the internet. Here I comment on brilliant and hilarious comment chains regarding dumb shit on the internet for you to enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell button so that you get notifications every time we come up with a new video. Enjoy this week's show.
Life pro tip. When considering a financial advisor, ask if they are a fiduciary. Fiduciaries are required by law to act in your best interest. This could potentially save you hundreds of thousands of dollars by retirement. The Obama-era dole implemented the fiduciary rule that made all financial advisors act as fiduciaries. But it was repealed in 2018 by action of the Fifth Circuit after a bunch of banks were mad they now had to act in their clients' interests. So, yeah, check. This should be higher up. Think about this: the law that said the person you're paying to give you advice on something as important as your personal finances is required to do what is in your best interest was repealed. How f***ed is that? Because money. Best part was they put out a bunch of scary ads claiming the evil new Obama rule was going to take away your advisor that you loved and trusted. If that were true, then by definition that dude was making as much money with your money as you were. I remember those. These new laws are trying to make it harder to get advice from our financial advisor, not Dave. Like, they couldn't have been any more transparent unless they just said, how do we keep screwing these people? The reality was that people who had less than $50,000 to invest were the ones getting screwed after this last passed. People with a lot of money were fine, not much changed, just more fine print. I worked at JP Morgan at the time, and if you had less than $50,000, you were automatically told to invest in a self-directed, no advisor, but the account has no commissions, account because banks were not willing to take on the risk with that small of a pool of assets. Best interest is incredibly subjective, and having one or two trades go bad in a $50,000 account has a much higher chance of getting you sued than one or two trades in a $500,000 account. I work in finance, specifically in lending management. 98% of the public's financial advisors are a cousin that's bought 4 cars and knows what they're talking about. Op has good advice. However, I'm sure anyone in finance will agree with me. Yeah, I work directly with financial advisors every day. There's a surprising amount of good ones, 10-15%, but the bad ones you wonder how they have a single client. Same here. 90% of financial advisors, even ones who are fiduciaries, CFPs, etc., are gigantic morons who have zero business planning other people's expenses and retirement. One key piece of advice: if they begin recommending any sort of cash value life insurance or annuity before exhausting every other investment avenue, ditch them and run away. Too poor to understand, but thank you anyway. Seriously, I looked up the fiduciary list in my state one time and started emailing around. Turns out they're all the kind of guy that don't speak to anyone for less than $20K liquid to start investing. From the advisor's perspective, it's all just so they can be as profitable as possible without working themselves to death and being actually available to clients. 50 clients with $1 million or 500 clients with $100,000. It's both $50 million of AUM, but one requires far less work. I work in this business. Even if I told you I had a fiduciary responsibility, would you know the difference in the funds I sold you? I think colloquially we think of this as getting into reasonably priced investments. However, the industry sees mutual funds with sales loads and high MERS as justified and reasonable. Even if you don't think it's in your best interest to pay high fees, good luck finding an arbitrator or court who will agree with you. I think this question is really not useful. What I would want to know from an advisor is why are they recommending certain funds, how they compare against other similar investments, what level of service I can expect, the advisor's experience, and how the advisor himself invests. To be fair, even an advisor with expensive investments can save you huge sums of money with the right advice in a time like this. I don't recommend that you go and pay front-end loads or deferred sales charges or high MERS, and I wish the companies that offered these types of investments would go out of business. Most people can't or won't do this on their own and need advice though. Unless that changes, there will always be a premium on financial advice. Additional, if you're seeking an advisor for a 401k plan you oversee, owner/executive/controller/head of people, etc., ask the same question. While I have dealt with advisors who were non-fiduciaries who did excellent work, you should know what the contract states and their limits of responsibility. Because if you're making the call about a 401k plan's investment lineup, you are going to be a fiduciary whether you like it or not, and whether you're qualified or not, accountable to your employees, and particularly, your rank and file employees. Further, there are 2 different levels of fiduciary for a 401k advisor, a 321 advisor and a 338. The 321 has fiduciary responsibilities to provide you information and advice based on their contract and the regulations. HUD ultimately does not accept any power over the lineup. They provide you with the recommendations and information/education, but you pull the switches. For quite a few plans, this is all you might need. They are giving you the framework so you can make prudent decisions. With a 338, you're going to cede them the power to make lineup changes, so they'll not only present information and education, they'll make some or all lineup decisions for you. As you can imagine, since they're taking on more liability, you're also paying them premium relative to a 321. A final key fact to bear in all of this is you never stop being a fiduciary, at least as a baseline. Even if you hire a 338 and turn the lineup over to them, since you had the power to select, hire, and pay them, you're responsible for their work. If they F up royally, they could be deemed responsible and you might be found to have no accountability if it was clearly in their purview alone. However, if they're screwing up and you're not holding them accountable, or if you're letting them proceed with data anyone would seem imprudent, you can still be held liable because you didn't have proper oversight. This is a good thing to share, but unfortunately almost every CFP is a fiduciary, and many don't act in their client's best interest. Look for one that charges flat fees like an hourly fee, not ones that take 8% of the growth you earn in a cookie-cutter balanced mutual fund or other portfolio, certainly not one that charges a load fee plus a percentage of earnings. The difference you earn over the long run is huge. It's worth it, and usually cheaper to pay the hourly fee. At the very least, choose ones that charge smaller percentages. Well said. This needs to be upvoted. Many will say, low percentage, or something like I only get 1% or investing in a mutual fund that only charges 0.8%. Sounds good and cheap, but is what usually adds up to thousands or hundreds of thousands on the end. People get stuck on fees and paying the lowest fee. Would you need to look at his value? Paying the lowest fee for an underperforming portfolio with no advice has low value. Paying a higher fee for good performance and advice has more value. It's like buying a car. I can buy the cheapest car on the market with no AC or heated seats, but most people will pay more for some options. Why? There is value. People need to stop talking fees and return with investing and look at the bigger picture of value. Would a financial advisor who was gonna rip you off anyway not also claim to be a fiduciary? Is there an independent way to confirm that the person I'm about to entrust my money to is, in fact, a fiduciary? Would receiving some kind of notification in writing from them, even if false, provide any protection? My biggest thing is to understand exactly what your advisor is investing in and why. Make sure you understand this. I know it can be boring, but your future self will thank you. Having it in writing could offer some protection, but the best protection is to know where your money goes and educating yourself on terms such as index funds, mutual funds, bonds, etc. So as a financial advisor who is a fiduciary, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Who gets to decide what is in your best interest? Government regulators. There are different theories, plans, strategies, and investments that are out there that could all be in your best interest or could not be. If we knew which one was going to be in your best interest, we would all recommend it. Problem is that we don't know. The problem with the law was the implementation. It made little to no difference on recommendations made, but rather just priced smaller accounts out since it added tons of work and paperwork. There are bad Apple advisors out there, and I think that law did absolutely nothing to stop them. It's all about how an advisor is paid. If a financial advisor gets a fee for the assets in the account, for instance 1% of the total account value, annually, the advisor is considered a fiduciary. The rationale here is that the advisor also wants the value to grow, so they make more, making your best interests aligned. Alternatively, if the advisor makes a commission, they cannot be considered a fiduciary. Did the advisor sell that to you because it was right for you or because they wanted to make a commission? Ironically, this is true even if the commission payout is less than the annually percentage fee charged. I've never looked at whether it's possible to skirt the fiduciary rules, but I will say the assumption fee-only advisors are better is flawed. There are tons of products that are good ideas but pay a commission, and fee-only advisors lock themselves out from recommending them. I agree. My biggest problem with the tilt towards fee-only is that it turns the advisors into pure asset gatherers. An annuity could fit better for a portion of what a client wants/needs, but the fee-only advisor can't sell that, so they tell the client to leave the money with them in the market. A bias towards a fee-based account is still a bias and does not mean it is in the client's best interest. Once I find a fiduciary, how do I know I have a good one? You don't. Inform yourself a little to find out. Find where your money is going and why. Ask questions to make sure you understand everything the advisor says. If they looked annoyed or tell you to trust them, I'd walk the other way personally. I'd take it a step further and suggest a fee-only certified financial planner rather than working with an advisor who works at a firm that sells financial products who are fiduciaries. 100% this.
If you enjoyed this week's effective way to waste time, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you are enjoying the series, leave me a comment below. A special shout out to the content creators. You frickin' rock.